Hey guys, it's Rain here from Model Domestic Church. I have a video for you guys today on budgeting. Someone actually recently requested that I do a video about budgeting, specifically when your spouse maybe is, maybe like they're in charge of the finances more, but you're wanting to become more responsible for the budget, or maybe you have a spouse who really isn't interested in budgeting, but you really are. All of that kind of stuff. So this video is going to be about budgeting. Okay, first thing I want to stress a couple of things. The first thing is you do not have to have a certain type of personality to be a really great budgeter. I used to think that you had to be like a type A or something to really be great at budgeting or to find the purpose in budgeting, but it's not true. It's not true. And the other thing is you only should budget if you have a lower income or maybe you're saving for something. I don't think that's true at all. I think that you should budget anyway, under every circumstance. Budgeting is so important. So I'm gonna give you a little bit of a backstory about me before I get into this video. But basically in the early years, I thought there was no point in purpose to budgeting. I thought, like I said, that it was a personality type. I also thought that it just was like, you know, you get money and you pay your bills first and you have some fun money and, you know, you just go about it till you get your next paycheck. We used to be a two-income, well, we were in a family before, but when I used to work, but when I used to work, we were married and we didn't have any children yet. And my husband was in the military and he made a certain amount of money. And then I worked some different odd jobs, and my money was the fun money. So we didn't budget back then. We just paid what we needed to pay and we went out all the time. I still would buy so much in groceries, even though I never cooked. So it's basically just snack food and convenience food. And we would go out to dinner all the time, like almost every night. I'm not even kidding you. And that went on for probably a good year and a half. I look back now at those days and I'm like, oh my goodness, we could have like saved so much money. But you live and you learn. So what happened was then my husband got in the military and he went to school, and we were on such a tight budget because he had a stipend from the military for school, and we had a little bit of money on the side, and it was really tight. Like we had just enough for our bills and basic necessities, and that was it. And it was almost like a total wake-up call to the fact that we had no money, like for anything really like fun or like anything like that. So it was kind of like a time of cleansing our systems of, you know, just getting whatever we wanted and stuff like that. And that lasted for almost 4 years. In that time, we had 3 children, and that will make you even more frugal because, you know, you got to buy stuff like diapers and you got to get things that they need, like shoes and, you know, all this other stuff. So when he got his first job out of school, it was almost more like ministry work than it was a career, like a job in the sense of finances, because it wasn't, you know, how do I say it? When you work for the church, sometimes you're going to not make a ton of money, and that's okay. That's all right. We knew that when he went into working for the church, that we were going into it with walking as a ministry. So during that time, I got so good at budgeting. I mean, I took what we had and I just budgeted everything out to the last dollar. I mean, to everything. I knew exactly where everything was going to be going. And usually the paycheck would come in, we'd pay for all these things, and we had very little left over. But we had some left over, and so I would budget just little bitty things. And then as we went along, I got better at budgeting, better at you know, paying things off or putting a little money away for this or a little money away for that. Being very frugal at times like Christmas or birthdays, times where people spend a lot of money. I got really good at buying sales throughout the year and planning, and then Christmas having this. Just really learning how to budget during that time. And that time was I keep saying time, but such a special time because I really learned how to appreciate what we had. And so the years went on and kept budgeting. And then we moved into a tiny house. We are a family of 7 and we moved into a 400 square foot cabin. And during that time, we really learned a lot about how little you really need to live and be joyful. So that was another time that really helped me even more with budgeting and understanding what we really need and how we can have fun and joyful times without spending a ton of money or having a lot of space. That's kind of a bit really quick back version, or whatever you want to call it, a history of how I came to a place to just value budgeting so much and thinking it's so important. So I'm going to get into some like practical tips on budgeting and also share kind of what I do. So what I do when my husband gets a new job, or let's say he gets a raise, or let's say we want to save, or anything that involves money changing a little bit. I get out a trusty notebook, a simple little pen or pencil. I do prefer kind of the grayish black pencils with the caps. I just love the way they push the paper in. That's totally irrelevant, but I just love it. Okay, so I went ahead and wrote down on this little piece of paper basically how I structure what we're gonna do with our money. I am pretty much responsible for the budget. I just feel over time, like my husband, it just depended. In the early years, I was responsible for paying a couple of things. He paid for the other things. But as we had more children and as I became more home-centered, it just made more sense for me to handle the budget because I just knew where everything needed to go. So at the very top, I have the amount coming in after taxes, insurance, etc. Anything that you're gonna have that is going to come out that you will not see in your personal bank account that you will be able to use. I wait till all of that's out and then I look to see what it is. Like if you have a new job, or let's say if your husband gets a raise, or let's say you're putting savings away, or whatever it is, whatever that amount is. So I have that up at the top. That's the first thing I would write down. This is probably very juvenile to many of you. You're probably like, this is so obvious. But there was at one point in my life where this wasn't obvious, and I wasn't gonna go buy a course in finances, and I just wasn't gonna do that. So for me, this is what has come about from living the family life, being home-centered, and just budgeting. After that, I have what I pay in the bills, like what I'm going to actually either call somewhere and pay, write a check, or so on and so forth. I have things like your house, car note, your car insurance, phone. I just wrote down some random things that maybe you will have to pay out of pocket. Then there's also the automatic bills. Some people have their home loan automatically taken out. Some people have their phone automatically taken out. Whatever those two things are, I write them separately. I do not write them together. The reason is because automatic, and what you pay, it can always be different every month depending on what it is. Like an electric bill can be different. And it's just good to know roughly what you're paying. And then what I do is I put all that together. Let's say you add it all up and it's like other than mortgage, let's say mortgage is out. And I add up all my bills, let's say it's $500. I'm just throwing a number out there. Let's say it's $465 usually. I would round up to the next 100 and just tell myself, this is what we're gonna be spending on bills this month. It could be a little bit more, could be a little less, but it's roughly the same. So it gives me a good understanding of what to expect for that month. So I have those two. Then we have food and savings. Now what we do is over time we have found that it's really great to have 3 different accounts. We have, and they're kind of like hooked together. We have our main account where the money comes in, where we have our credit debit cards and we pay from there. Then we have another account specifically for food, and then a third account for savings. So automatically we have the savings that comes out, or we do it ourselves, we do it right away. Savings comes out. And then we have one for food. So we take the whole month budget, the whole thing that we're planning on having for food, depending on whatever your family size is, it could be 400, it could be all the way up to 2,000, depending on whatever it is that you guys allot for your food. Take it out right away and put in a separate account. And only move it back into the account right before you go shopping. Right now, at this season in my life, I'm doing Walmart pickup a lot. I'm very pregnant, I have 5 kids, and pickup has just been a blessing, especially in the wintertime. But I absolutely love going grocery shopping, and I love taking my kids with me going grocery shopping. It's just hard at this season because I'm so pregnant. But when our baby's about 6 months old and I've lost some baby weight and I'm feeling good, I'm starting to exercise again, I have more energy, I'm like, it's like a day thing. It's so much fun for me. I prep, I plan, we get all the stuff on our list, we go shopping, I love it. But anyway, so it just depends on what you like. But you move the amount you're gonna spend over, and you meal plan. That's a whole nother video, but I meal plan. I know exactly roughly what I'm getting. There might be a couple of fun extra purchases, But for the most part, I know my first week of the month is gonna be a certain amount. My second week of the month will be a lesser, but like a certain amount. Third will be that higher amount again, and the fourth will be less. So I just know. So I move that over at the very beginning. My husband moves it over. And then as I go shopping, I just move what I need over, plan for what I need. Sometimes you can take cash if that's better for you. I just keep in the account and I just know what I'm doing with how much I'm gonna be spending. And then I go and I spend that, and I do not go back to the store until the next week for my next shopping trip. Unless, you know, like sometimes my husband will come home and have it kind of in him to make something kind of fancy, because he usually makes the fancy stuff when he really wants to try something. And then, you know, he'll go to the store and he'll buy whatever, and then he'll tell me, and I'll move over that amount after, because it's still food budget. So, and then our savings, you know, you can have savings for whatever you're wanting, whether it's just to have a good savings, whether you save up for Christmas, so you're not taking this huge amount out of, you know, a couple of paychecks, but you just take a little bit out all year, whether it's homeschooling, whatever it is, we have a savings for that, and that comes out right when the paycheck comes in, because we get paid once a month. So we get paid bi-weekly. You would just break all this up in half and do that. So far we have the amount coming in, the bills I pay, the automatic bills, food, and savings. Then I have this line crossed, because this is what is going out, what we have to have paid every month, and that's a whole separate thing than this side of the page. This is the fun side of the page. Okay, so this is where happiness lives, right here on this, this side of the page. It's not as filled up as this side of the page, but this is where happiness lies. That's what I tell myself. But so what I do is, after all of that money comes out, if you have anything left over on paper, that's when you want to start budgeting for other things. So at this season in our life, I have some money on this side of the page, and there have been times where I had literally like $10 on that side of the page, or maybe 50 or something. But so what I did was I asked myself, what are the things that I spend the most money on? Like not like just money, but like, you know, practical money. And I found that there's two areas that I spend on. The first one is our homeschool budget. Now, this is not our large homeschool budget that buys our yearly curriculum. That comes at tax time. But we have a monthly budget for things that you just don't always think about with homeschooling, and that's when you lose all your scissors, because my goodness, we lose scissors. Scissors, pencils, paper. Maybe you found this amazing new homeschool book that all the homeschool mamas are raving about, and you're like, I gotta read this book because it's gonna help me implement ... But this book is however much money. Well, then that would come out of your homeschool budget. Hey, the kids need papers, they need folders. We're going on a field trip this month. That will come out of the homeschool budget monthly. So if you don't have a budget for homeschooling, what you're gonna find is you're gonna be spending more than you realize, and you think you're fine. And then all of a sudden you're like, where's all this money? And you're like, oh gosh, I forgot. I bought a pack of folders and paper, and oh, I took so-and-so Tommy to the fire. I don't know, whatever the field trip is. So budgeting for a homeschool budget, if you are a homeschooler, or if your kids are in school, you know you got expenses. I mean, whether it's, I don't even know what, my kids have never been in school, but like, I guess lunch money, I don't know. I'd probably send lunch, but anyway, lunch money, well, maybe not, because lunch food at the school can be kind of fun and yummy. I don't know what it would be, but whatever that is for school, that's your budget. And then the other area I found myself spending money on or wanting to and feeling like I couldn't was homemaking. So let's say last year we moved into our new house. That was 2 years ago, goodness. And I wanted to get new comforters for all my kids. Well, I have 5 kids. So going out and buying a new comforter for all of my children in 1 month just wouldn't be feasible. So what I did was I broke it up. Every month, over the next certain amount of months, I bought each child, a new comforter. Now, did I just go out and buy whatever I found? No, I researched, I looked, I found good prices, read reviews, and then I found a company and a brand that was good, and then we just started. And that amount of money came from my homemaking budget. That can be completely like different for different people. You might have a large homemaking budget. Like you can have a very small homemaking budget of like $10. Don't be fooled and think that's nothing, because if you go to a really good Goodwill, the kids are coming out for their snacks. It's snack time before bed, so you're gonna hear them like talking and stuff. But anyway, you can go to Goodwill and find a nice set of curtains, or you can buy a inexpensive can, like a small can of paint for a piece of furniture, or something for $10 to $20 if that's your budget. If you have a really large income, or your husband brings home a large income, or you're a dual income and you have a lot, you could have a $200, I don't know what it would be, but whatever it would be, you could have a budget and you pull from that amount of money. So you can have it in cash. Unless you're an online shopper, then you can do it right from your account. But if you do that, you need to, keep track. You need to balance the checking account. So yeah, so that's what I do. And over the years, this has helped me. Really, when you think about the subject of budgeting, what you're really probably thinking about more is this half of the page because there are certain things that you just have to pay for. It's like, regardless of whatever you're wanting or what you're doing, you have to pay for a roof over your head. You have to pay for food in your bellies. You have to pay for certain things. So, and I also have a budget that I work on over the year as well. So like in the spring and the fall, I have a budget that I know I'm gonna work with during certain months out of the year. They're gonna be added to what we already do to pay for clothing. I usually focus on the end of spring and the end of fall because there are huge sales going on for, like the fall kind of winter clothes are all cheap. You can go and buy tons of pants for like little kids for $1 a piece, or find really nice work pants for your husband for $5 a piece. Like if your husband doesn't mind you shopping for him, some don't like that. But I'm just saying, like, there are definitely times of the year. So I take that into account as well of what I'm needing to purchase for which child, for what season and all of that. And that's my yearly budget. But I guess I just want to start out with saying, not start out, but end this video with saying that there are certain things you have to pay for. Like I said, roof over your head, food in your belly, your insurances, your bills. And those things are going to be up here. Now there are some fun things up here. I put like Netflix, and those might be more down here, especially if you're focusing on a more limited budget. But I am just such a firm believer in this half of the money that you think of more of like, it's kind of fun. Cause see, okay, girl, I'm not gonna lie. I love to shop. I love it. It just does something to me. I find so much joy from it. But I also found my little guy is like, he's so excited and he's just like so loud. So anyway, so I've had to learn over the years that since I do love to shop, and it's not so much like I don't really enjoy going out and buying things for myself as much, but I love the practical aspect of shopping. Like I love knowing that when I shop, it's gonna have a really good purpose for my children. Or when I shop, this is gonna be a serious blessing to my husband. Or when I used to coupon like a mad woman, I loved getting free deals or really, really cheap things because I knew it was gonna bless my husband. He worked so hard for our income, and so I just knew it was gonna be a blessing to him. So if you're like me and you love to shop, you have to really, this side of the page, budgeting is really important, because I find that since I budget like this, I have money to just, it's fun and it's joyful, and you get to spend money on these wonderful things that are gonna bless your family, and it's not frivolous, and it's not gonna just, when you buy something, all of a sudden you're feeling like, oh, what did I do? That's gone, because you spent from the budget that you were allotted, and that it's a good thing. Because honestly, with anything, like you can build virtue and you can build vice, basically. So I love to shop. I don't love to spend money necessarily. I don't love to be frivolous, but it can easily turn into that if I'm not cautious. So over the years, I've learned, like, I remember back in the day, man, I loved to Ollie's. It's like this really great discount store, and has this like amazing book section and DVDs. And I would go and just buy a workout DVD because, oh, it's so cheap. It's $4. But did I need like 10 $4 DVDs for workouts? No, I didn't. I needed one. And then maybe once my body got used to it, I could get another. But I was like, oh, they're so cheap. Oh, they're so cheap. Or they had all these calendars. Girl, you don't need more than one calendar unless you need it in different rooms. Okay. But like I had to learn, like just because it's cheap, or just because I'm trying to be frugal and not spend so much, it's gonna be expensive if you keep buying the same thing. So I had to really, that was like years ago. I haven't done that in a long time, but having this budget is helpful too, because it puts a cap on it, It's like if I have a certain amount of money a month and I want to buy a comforter for one of my children, and I want to buy, I don't even know, I can't think, maybe like a tablecloth for a table, or I want to buy silverware or something like that. That's where it's gonna come from, and then I'm done. But I can look forward to the next month knowing like, ooh, the season's changing and I wanna buy this really fun wreath for the front door. It's gonna make everybody smile and it's just gonna be this joyful thing. Great, I will pull that from next month's homemaking budget instead of being like, I gotta have it right now and then spend it. Like, no, I know I can wait because it's gonna come in. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and finish up this video. But this is basically why I think budgeting is so important. You do not, that's the first thing. You do not have to be a certain personality to be good at it or to like it or to whatever. It can be a joy to anyone. Anybody can do it with any income. It is a little harder when you have a ton of debt. We don't have a lot of debt. We've been really cautious over the years. It's still possible when you have debt. You just have to kind of, this section is gonna be a lot bigger than this section for a while, but that's okay because in the long run, you're gonna be blessing yourselves a lot more by paying debt off than acting like it's not there and having all this fun money. And you can work in fun in all kinds of ways, y'all. I mean, that's a whole nother video about finding fun things in your local area to do. But like I said, that's another video. So I just wanna encourage you guys to sit down, to think about a budget, be realistic. And you know, I just noticed I don't have tithing anywhere on here, but tithing would be up here. It would be like one of the first things that this is gonna come out before you spend anything. Or like when you're taking out your savings and your food money and moving it over, tithing is similar. So sorry I didn't put that on there, but I kind of just thought about it as like the first thing. But tithing is something, if you guys do that, that would be at the very, very, very top. Don't consider it down here. I mean, it's fun, it's a joy to tithe, but it's something that should go, it's like up here. Yeah, I would just start with writing some of these things down. And you can sit down with your spouse and do it. It depends on, I don't know what the dynamics are of course, whichever one of your relationships, so you know, whoever's watching. But for me, I would do this, I would do it before I sat down with my husband. And because I find, like with my husband, if I come up with a crafted plan, it's all nice. My kids are so loud, y'all. They're just so loud, sorry. But they're happy, but they're loud. I would come up with all of it, lay it all out, have it worked and looking right and looking good. And then I would bring it to him. And then of course, if he found A, B, or C that wouldn't work or wouldn't this or that, that's okay because I have it well, like planned out, I know how it would work, and I can switch things around to suit whatever his needs are, whatever he would like. So, so hopefully this is helpful to, especially to the person who asked or who requested this video. I hope you guys are all doing well. If you're new to my channel, I'd love for you to subscribe. Click the little notification bell if you'd like to get notifications and the thumbs up. And oh, always, like I always say, tell me what you guys are doing for your budgeting because we can always learn. We can always learn and grow, especially in areas of the finances and budgeting and figuring out new ways to do it and to do it to the best of our ability so we can be a blessing to our families. I hope you guys all have a great day. God bless.